Kia ora koutou. My name's Alex Lalong, and Sonia said I've been at the Maori Teachers Conference this week, as well as the English Teachers Conference hui that we've just finished. So, nā mihi nui kia koutou katoa mō tēnei hui e tēnei ata. Thank you so much for coming today. So today I'm going to be talking about Māori as achievers, and I think that the first thing we need to talk about is the fact that why does this relate to our discussion? Sonia asked me to talk to you guys about the fact that I taught in a bilingual unit in my first few years of teaching, and it's really implemented and informed my entire way of teaching from the first few years of teaching. Enhancing confidence in the classroom is my biggest important aspect of the way I teach. For me, data doesn't have a heartbeat. I'm always constantly thinking of new ways that I can be teaching my students, making sure that they feel confident in the classroom and making sure that they, as Māori, feel that they can achieve to the best of their own abilities, regardless of the data that it's forced on in their own minds and what we as teachers, we have to use it. It's to inform our teaching, but we sometimes feel, well, I personally sometimes feel that we tend to have a more, what's the word, we focus on it a bit too much, and it kind of has a negative impact on our students. Where did this idea come from? Well, my bilingual students, when I was teaching at Massey High School, they came back from a assembly where Māori and Pacific students were made to stay behind in an entire assembly, and they were given a presentation on Māori and Pacific Island students' achievement. And the data consistently says that Māori students and Pacific Island students do not do as well as non-Māori students. And they came back and they were not very happy, and they were upset and were talking about how racist it was. So I thought it would be a good chance to do an empowerment task. And luckily, and kind of fortunately, I was doing observation for Te Kotautanga at the same time, and my TK friend was very impressed by my empowerment tool. So what I did was I had a simple sheet of paper, both sides were used, and the two questions were what stops us from achieving as Māori and what stops us from achieving as an individual. This is just some of the work that my students did back then. It's got a bit of water over it because I've moved quite a few times since I left Auckland. And the stuff that is on here is really relevant because it talks about, you know, the student voice, and we always talk about needing to hear the student voice and thinking about how we as teachers need to use that. And for me, that's the best kind of data because it's real data. It shows the real teaching and learning that's going on. This example here, I do spoken word poetry as well. Thank you, Tara, for your discussion earlier. And this is one of the poems that I did from Glenn Cahoon's poem. One of my girls, from my bilingual unit, she wrote this poem. And I believe very strongly in the fact that all Māori students should feel proud to be who they are. As a Māori myself, I didn't feel that when I was going through high school. And I think it's important that we enable our students to feel proud for who they are. This is one of their examples from from my Year 10 class, my bilingual unit. And they gave this to me when they left my class because I was leaving the following year to come down to Rotorua to teach at Western Heights High School. And these kind of things I collect quite often just to see how they are going, just to see whether they are thinking I'm being too nice, for example, there, or you know, whether I am being consistent throughout all of my students. I tend to go to as many conferences as I can, so I can make sure that I'm up with a play as you guys are doing today, to make sure that my students are getting the best of best of the best. The biggest challenges that I've found is that as a teacher, we have to use assessment data to inform our teaching practice, but I often feel that, like I said earlier, our students don't necessarily get the best of that. I recently wrote a blog post last night about the impact it's had on my teaching, and so you can look more about that later on. So as I said, those are some of the links that I've used, and I am very, very serious about Māori achievement, and I think it's important that we as teachers help enable our students to be the best that they can be. And I think for Māori students it comes down to helping them feel proud and being confident so that they can feel that they can give their answers no matter whether they think they might be wrong. They just need to have a go. So, ngā mihi nui kia koe, kia koutou. Thank you so much for having me, and I've really appreciated the opportunity to come and talk to you today.